Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. I want you to pause for just a moment and imagine this.
She looks at
you, smiles faintly, and then looks away, too quickly, as if she's trying to hide
something.
You tell yourself it's nothing, but deep down something in her energy feels charged, alive, and just a little dangerous. That tension you feel, it's real. And today we're going to explore the hidden signs she's secretly fantasizing about you. The ones she'd never admit, not even to her closest friend. Before we dive in, make sure you subscribe and like this video. It helps me share these truths with more men who deserve real insight, not surface level dating advice. Now, here's what most men never realize. When a woman begins to fantasize about you, it doesn't start with touch or words.
It starts with
attention. A woman's fantasies grow in silence. She'll start noticing the smallest things about you, the way you hold your coffee mug, the rhythm of your walk, the tone you use when you say her
name.
Her subconscious begins to replay these details like little movie clips. She can't stop watching in her mind. You'll notice her energy shift. She'll hover in your space more often, pretending it's coincidence. Maybe she suddenly laughs louder at your jokes, even when they're not that funny. Maybe she mirrors your body language, leaning back when you do, tilting her head the same way, or brushing her hair right after you move your hand. These aren't random. They're psychological reflections of desire trying to stay hidden. But here's the secret. When a woman fantasizes about you, her behavior becomes paradoxical.
She both invites
and protects herself from the fantasy. She'll act distant one day, then overly warm the next. It's her subconscious wrestling with her attraction.
She's
fighting the urge to lose control.
Men
miss this all the time because they look for bold signs, touch, flirting, compliments. But female desire often hides behind restraint. It's in the micro expressions, the accidental stares, the slightly longer text replies. At night, when she's secretly fantasizing about you, it's not what she says that gives her away. It's what she stops herself from saying. If you felt that tension before, that invisible current between you and a woman, it's not your imagination. It's her inner world brushing against yours, silently, asking if you can sense it too. There's something hauntingly beautiful about how a woman's desire works. It's rarely loud, rarely obvious, and that's what makes it so powerful. When she starts to fantasize about you, her mind becomes your stage. You exist in her daydreams, in her quiet moments, in the subtle ways. She imagines your presence without ever saying a word. You may think she's forgotten you, but she hasn't. You've simply taken residence in the parts of her mind she keeps hidden from the world. One of the first psychological signs is emotional curiosity. She'll start asking questions that go beyond surface level. Not, how was your day? But, what do you think about when you can't sleep? She's not just making conversation. She's trying to explore your emotional depth because that's where her fantasy lives. Women don't fantasize about bodies alone. They fantasize about connection. And when she feels that spark of emotional intimacy, her imagination fills in the rest. You might catch her defending you subtly when others criticize you or teasing you in ways that blur the line between playfulness and attraction. That teasing is her safe way of expressing what she truly feels. Desire disguised as humor. She's testing if it's safe to show more. But here's where it gets fascinating. Women often fantasize about men who remain slightly mysterious, slightly out of reach. The unknown fuels attraction because it gives her mind room to paint the picture she wants to see. When you don't reveal everything, when you maintain calm confidence, purpose, and emotional control, you become the blank
Canvas she
colors with her thoughts. That's why chasing or oversharing too quickly destroys that energy. You collapse the mystery, and with it the fantasy. You'll also notice her nervousness around you doesn't quite make sense. Her words stumble. Her breathing changes. Her tone softens. Unexpectedly, she might look away when you hold eye contact for too long.
not
Because she's disinterested, but because the intensity feels too raw. It's like her body betrays the fantasies she's tried to suppress. Here's the truth: most men never hear. When she's secretly fantasizing about you, her mind is already building a story where you're the main character, but she'll protect that story until she senses you're emotionally safe enough to enter it. That's when the fantasy becomes something much more real. Now let's talk about the power of subtle touch and proximity, because this is where most men completely misread her intentions. When she fantasizes about you, she doesn't always touch you openly. Instead, it's in the almost touches, her hand brushing yours by accident, leaning in just a fraction too close when you speak, or finding reasons to be near you in the room. These micro movements are like whispers of desire she can't fully articulate. She's testing boundaries without exposing herself fully. Her body language will start to betray her secret thoughts even when she looks disinterested. Her feet, shoulders, and torso may be subtly oriented toward you. Women unconsciously face the person they are mentally and emotionally fixated on. That glance she quickly hides, that small smile when you catch her looking, that is the physical echo of a fantasy playing out in her mind. Then there's her attention to your habits and reactions. She will remember the tiniest details about you, the phrase you always use when thinking, the way your lips move when you laugh, or your favorite song that makes you nostalgic. She stores these like treasures because in her fantasies, every detail is magnified.
and
When she sees you react naturally, without knowing she's watching, it triggers a private thrill in her mind. Another subtle but undeniable sign is her energy when you leave the room or conversation. Watch for the shift. A deep exhale, a glance toward where you were, or an almost imperceptible longing in her
eyes.
It's like her imagination is trying to pull you back into her world, filling the absence with scenarios she
Can only explore privately.
psychologically, women fantasize about emotional intensity as much as physical attraction. She might start sending seemingly random messages, quotes, songs, or memes that resonate with things she imagines about you. She's not just sharing content. She's projecting pieces of her fantasy into your reality, hoping you'll feel a subtle pull toward her too. Here's the deeper truth: most
Men miss
fantasy isn't just idle thinking for her. It's a rehearsal of possibilities. Every glance, every tease, every coincidental interaction is part of a mental choreography she's rehearsing in secret. She's mapping out how closeness could feel, how intimacy could unfold, and how the connection could grow, all while keeping it hidden under polite smiles and casual behavior. If you notice these signals, you're witnessing the invisible bridge between thought and action, a private world where you are the center and her mind can't stop returning. Now let's get into something most men completely overlook: the way she communicates when she's alone versus when she's around
you.
When a woman fantasizes about a man, her communication style subtly shifts depending on whether she knows you're watching or not. You might notice that she sends texts that are slightly More personal, a little flirtatious, or unusually thoughtful, but only at times. When she thinks no one is observing, that's her private desire bleeding into the real world. One of the most revealing signs is her voice and the way she phrases things. When she's imagining you, she unconsciously frames her words to engage you emotionally. She might ask questions that seem innocent. Have you ever felt like someone just gets you? But they're carefully constructed to pull you deeper into her mental world. These questions are never random. They're psychological breadcrumbs, guiding you closer to her inner fantasy, without her having to admit it. You'll also notice her humor starts to change. Around you, women often use playful teasing as a safe way to explore attraction. That small knowing smile, when she jokes, the subtle innuendo, hidden in casual conversation. These are signs she's mentally painting scenarios she isn't ready to voice outright. Humor becomes a camouflage for desire, and if you catch it, it's an invitation into her inner world. Another hidden marker is her investment in your moods and reactions. When she's fantasizing about you, she watches your energy with the precision of someone analyzing a story in progress. She remembers what excites you, what annoys you, and even what scares you. Every observation becomes part of the private narrative she's creating in her mind about you two. Together, here's a truth that blows most men's minds. Women often fantasize about emotional vulnerability before physical intimacy. She imagines moments where you open up, where you're real, where she feels your presence in a deep, unguarded
way.
That's why you might notice her suddenly wanting to know about your day, your struggles, your victories.
She's
rehearsing her place in your emotional
life.
Finally, there's the way she remembers things you've said in passing, even months ago, and brings them up casually. That's not coincidence. That's her brain replaying moments she cherishes, embedding them into scenarios she imagines with you. It's subtle, but it's one of the most powerful signs a woman is mentally preoccupied with you in ways you've never been taught to notice. Here's where it gets truly fascinating. Her eyes never lie. When a woman is secretly fantasizing about you, her gaze tells a story she can't put into words. You may catch her staring, not in an obvious way, but in the micro moments when she thinks you're not looking, when she's distracted, or when you enter a room. Her pupils dilate slightly. Her eyebrows lift almost imperceptibly, and there's a softness there that disappears the second she realizes you've noticed. That's her subconscious betraying the story her mind is playing out in secret. Another hidden sign is her reactions to physical distance. When she fantasizes about you, even small separations feel heavy. She might linger in your presence longer than necessary, find excuses to sit closer, or subtly adjust her posture toward you. When you leave, she may check her phone more frequently, replay your last conversation, or let her mind wander to the scenarios she's imagining. Distance becomes a silent trigger for her fantasies. You'll also notice her tone when she touches or interacts with objects near you. She might brush your shoulder lightly, hand you something with deliberate care, or lean in when you're speaking. These gestures aren't random. They're extensions of her fantasy manifesting in the real world. Little attempts to bridge the gap between imagination and reality. Then there's the mysterious energy she radiates. Men often mistake it for casual friendliness or interest in conversation, but it's more intense than that. When a woman fantasizes about you, her energy becomes magnetic. Even when she's trying to act casual, she's balancing excitement with restraint, desire with control, and curiosity with secrecy. That tension, electric and undeniable is what keeps you unconsciously drawn toward her. Another unmistakable sign is her use of memory as a tool of desire. She remembers not just facts about you, but feelings.
How?
You looked when you laughed at a joke, the way your voice softened in a story, even the fleeting moments of vulnerability you shared. Every detail is cataloged, revisited, and used in her private mental scenarios. This is her mind rehearsing moments she wants to live in reality one day. Finally, notice how she responds to other women around you. A woman who's secretly fantasizing about you might subtly assert herself, intentionally or unconsciously when others approach. She's claiming space in your attention, testing boundaries, and protecting the private scenarios she's imagining. These behaviors aren't aggressive. They're psychological markers of her internal fixation, the unspoken truth that you already occupy her mind far more than you realize.
Now,
Let's uncover the final layer, the subtle ways she communicates longing without words. When a woman fantasizes about you, it's rarely about overt gestures or declarations. Instead, it's in the little things, lingering glances across the room, pauses in conversation. When she imagines what she'd say if she were alone with you, or the way she subtly mirrors your expressions and energy. These micro behaviors are her mind trying to bridge the gap between imagination and reality without ever speaking it aloud. You might notice her social media behavior changing in ways that seem almost accidental, but aren't. She may like posts you've long forgotten, comment on small things, or even subtly post content that she knows will catch your attention. These are not random acts. They are breadcrumbs she leaves, testing if you're aware of her unspoken interest, signaling her fantasy without exposing it fully. Her subtle emotional investment is another powerful indicator. She notices your moods and reactions, often remembering details you mentioned in passing. When she asks about your day or references something you did weeks ago, she's demonstrating that her mind has been preoccupied with
you.
These little acts of attention are her way of manifesting the scenarios she's been imagining, building an emotional bridge from her fantasy to reality. The most fascinating sign is how she reacts when boundaries